Hello, everyone, and welcome to Quadrant 4 Politics, the podcast where we discuss politics from a conservative and libertarian perspective. My name is Riley, and I'm here with my co-host Matt, and today we are doing a response to comments episode. This is episode 8.5. Episode 8 was about the question of the day for episode 8 was, should men have a say in the abortion debate? So it's going to be talking a lot about abortion, but we are responding to comments that we received on that episode, so that's what we're doing today. Matt, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, and I think anybody who listened to episode 8, we should mention that Margaret is not here with us for the follow-up episode. It's because the follow-up episodes aren't quite as big for us, and having, a lot of little scheduling things going on, so trying to find time to get us all together. That can be difficult.
Sure.
But we also didn't get a huge amount of comments, especially of comments that had a lot of substance to them. We had comments where a lot of people were responding to each other. For example...
Well, before we get into that, I also think that the question of the day wasn't... We discussed so much more in that episode than just the title question, and some people were mostly responding to the title question. So, I feel like the answer to that question is yes, men should have a say in the abortion debate. I think that's something we all agreed on.
That's what all three of us agreed on.
And of course, we got the hilarious comments like men should have all the say in the abortion debate.
We did have somebody who said that, which was concerning, but
I like it. All right, without further ado, let's jump into the comments.
Yeah, I was trying to. So the deiscent said, why wouldn't men have a say on when it's okay to kill a human? Cellathorn replied, why would men have a say over whether women can control their bodies, ? So that's the type of back and forth we had. That goes on for a while. Somebody brings up Tigger Tom 66 says, and the body of a fetus, which is roughly of which roughly half are male. So people throwing in lots of ideas in this back and forth discussion. Somebody in parentheses said, my bodily autonomy invalidates yours! ! So I'm wondering,
I think that is a...
were they making fun of somebody else?
I think that's a... it's a quote, meaning I think they're being sarcastic or quoting like the opposite side of what they think. But it's the debate, my bodily autonomy... What does it say?
My bodily autonomy invalidates yours.
Yeah, I think that is saying... That's a woman saying that their bodily autonomy invalidates the bodily autonomy of the fetus.
Oh, okay. So that person's probably on the pro-life side?
Yeah, they're making fun of probably a pro-choice person.
Okay. Well, that was from Leather Can ID. And then you want to talk to us about what the NAP is, Riley?
The NAP is a libertarian principle. It's the non-aggression principle, I believe, and it's something that I need to do more research into, honestly, because there's some understandings of it that are different than others. So it's something that's a very strong libertarian principle, and I think the main idea behind it is you shouldn't be aggressive towards anyone. You shouldn't cause any violence towards anyone. I don't know if it relates to retaliation. So, like, if someone we should not start a war with another country, but if another country decides to bomb us, then we should go and retaliate. I'm not sure if that's, that would be pacifism is not retaliating at all, but I think the non-aggression principle might include retaliation. So I'm not entirely sure, but we did get some comments relating to the non-aggression principle with abortion, saying that abortion is an act of aggression. Which is up for the debate. I think, even though it's something that a lot of libertarians believe in, I don't think that they all agree on how it applies to abortion.
Well, haven't you said this is an issue that divides libertarians?
Yeah, abortion is definitely something that divides libertarians because it just like the death penalty. Well, I'd say more libertarians are against the death penalty. I stand out in that way as a weird libertarian who supports death across the board. But abortion is tough for libertarians because it's debate of is that a life or is it not? And
it-
it's also really tough because what should government have control of telling us whether or not we can do that? The official Libertarian Party of the United States, on their website, when it comes to abortion, they say that it should be a personal choice and the government should not have any hand in that. That is the official statement of the Libertarian Party, but libertarians themselves disagree on that all the time. Just, it's such a moral thing for libertarians, and we believe in small government, and that's not really something that small government defines clearly, because it's small government versus human life. For those people who believe it is a human life.
Yeah, because there's people like me who say, people should do their own thing, except when it comes to affecting other people.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, other people includes the unborn. So I guess, are you being aggressive towards the fetus, or are you not, because it's not something you can be aggressive towards? It's all matter of definition. So same person, leather can ID, and if I'm saying that wrong, sorry, but it's literally the word leather, the word can, ID.
No worries.
Abortion violates the NAP. If you don't believe in the NAP, you're not libertarian. This is probably one that was posted on the Libertarian Reddit.
Yeah. That's, there's a lot of libertarians who say if you don't believe in the NAP, you're not a libertarian, which I think every libertarian believes in it to some extent. But I think where he is wrong, in his personal belief, he thinks that abortion disagrees with the NAP. But there's some people who say that abortion, it comes down to the moral aspect of, is that a life or not?
I don't think he's saying he disagrees with the NAP.
He's saying he disagrees with abortion because he says it's an act of aggression, which I think is where people disagree, libertarians specifically.
Well, because then again, Southorn replies, denial of bodily autonomy violates the NAP.
Yeah, that's the libertarian idea, that your body is like your own property and that there is something invading your body that you do not want there, which is the path that I agree with.
But is it aggressive to tell somebody you can't do something?
Well, it's like...
Or is that just restrictive?
Do you believe that you should be able to shoot trespassers?
Yes.
Well, it's that same idea, and I understand that you're going to disagree with me all the way. I'm not trying to change your mind on abortion about this, but that's the way they think about it, is that someone has entered their home, and, you say they entered, that person, the fetus entered their home on their permission. They chose to have sex. They made that decision. But you can welcome a guest into your home, your literal home, and then you'll be like, hey, man, it's 10 o'clock, you need to leave. And then all of a sudden they refuse to leave, and not only that, but they're sucking resources out of you, which is what a fetus does. They're sucking resources out of the woman.
Well, I feel like with that one, like the fetus and the woman have made an agreement, like, hey, it's 9 months, then you're out, Then we got another 18 years and go from there. So I feel like a different agreement is made than just, hey, come on in and hang out.
Well, that's a debate to be had, but I still think when it's invading your body and you don't want it to be there, regardless of the contract, it's not like contracts are something that we abide by as a civilization, but contracts are signed, and a fetus does not sign a contract.
Because
granted, it can't sign one, but that doesn't...
And one of the things I've been thinking about is all throughout history...
But should the fact that it can't sign a contract define the fact that it's not a human?
Well, black people used to not be able to sign contracts because they weren't humans, they were property.
Well, that is an entirely different debate.
Not really. It all comes down to...
They weren't defined as not human because they were fetuses. They were defined as not human because they were a race. They were a different race because they looked different. I don't think that is the same debate as an abortion. We're talking about something that can't live on its own outside of the womb, whereas a black person can live on their own.
Yes, the difference is that in that case, 200 years ago, the piece of property was allowed to talk.
Right.
All I'm saying is here it's pretty much, my point is that there have always been people who've stood up for the rights of others, and that's why we have ever advanced. Like, if it was always white men in charge, the only reason, non-white males have any power now is because at some point the white men buckled and said, this is wrong, and
right.
Little by little other people have gained rights, not just by, their own outcry, but because also other people in the majority stuck up for them. And in the majority, this would be the people who are alive.
I understand what you're trying to say. I'm just giving you the reasons for why they said those commenters said those things. I think that we both agree that abortion is not something that you can really debate someone to change their mind on. When it comes down to it, it is a moral decision that honestly, if you give them your reasonings for why you are against it, then they can either agree with those or disagree with those, and there's not going to be a way to change someone's mind. I think we've both tried to change each other's mind on abortion several times, and it's impossible.
It's just so easy, but I don't. Okay. So, Southorn, quoting somebody else, said, "You willfully risked pregnancy." So somebody else said, "You willfully risked pregnancy." She said, "That's a judgment on having sex, not of saving a fetus." The Fool of Emmaus said, "It does if she invited it there by engaging in consensual sex." And then she replies, "Except the sex besides being with another party. It's not a guarantee of pregnancy. Your argument is if you decide to go skydiving, so even if the parachute fails, you deserve to die." So I thought that's kind of good back and forth.
Could you explain that to me?
Except that having what this person is saying is having sex is not a guarantee of pregnancy. Which I think is a really weak argument, because I've always said that sex is the way that pregnancy happens, and so you're inviting the chance by having sex.
Okay.
So she says, your argument's like saying if you decide to go skydiving and your parachute fails, you deserved to die. So skydiving would be having sex. Parachute failing would be having the baby. The Fool of Emmaus responds, "No, it's you deciding to go skydiving, so you and your survivors can't sue the skydiving company if the parachute fails through no fault of theirs. Or the stock market can fall. You don't get your money back if you invested lost money," I think is what is meant to be said.
Yeah, I don't know if this applies to what the comments that they're saying, but I think if you die in a skydiving accident, your family can sue the skydiving company, no problem at all. You hear about those kind of cases all the time, and even though the skydiving company has contracts and forms that you sign that are full of legalese and stuff like that, if you die in their hands, I still feel like they're liable for that, because I'm an extreme libertarian who thinks that, they shouldn't have any responsibility for that, because you signed a contract saying that you're willing to put your life on the line. But the fact of the matter is we live in this society that's not my ideal society, and there's no way a company wouldn't be liable for someone's death. That would cause riots. And if the company didn't lose the lawsuit, people would riot and the company would be forced to shut down.
I don't know about that, because I could see a case where the company wins that lawsuit.
I knew someone personally who fell off a horse, and it wasn't like her personal horse. It was like through a horse camp or something. She fell off a horse and hurt her back, and she sued the company, and now she never has to work a day in her life because of how much money she got from the settlement.
Did she sign a contract or whatever?
Well, yeah, but that didn't hold up in court. She was hurt while riding one of their horses, Contracts always have loopholes.
But I just think from Southorn saying it's not a guarantee of pregnancy, your argument is if you decided to go skydiving, so even if the parachute fails, you deserve to die. No, like what us on the pro-life side are saying is if you decide to go skydiving, you accept the fact that there's a possibility that could happen.
Right.
However, with pregnancy, it's on a whole different scope. There's a much bigger chance of you getting pregnant from sex than you dying from skydiving, So
my disagreement with that would be the pro-life people saying you decided to have sex, that's your own fault for getting pregnant. That's such a like bleak way to view love in life and sexuality. It's I'm sure it's coming from Christians who believe that sex should only be done to procreate, who believe in no sex until marriage kind of thing. But they're telling people that because they had sex and created a baby that they're in the fault, when it's like sex is something that's a part of life. It's beautiful. I hate saying that, but that's what people say. And it's in this modern age, it's a part of relationships. And you can't just say, well, you just decided to have sex, so you should be forced to carry the child. It's like, yes, there's ways to be responsible. I was responsible. I got a vasectomy, and now it's something I don't have to worry about in any way, shape, or form. But there's still people out there who try to be safe. They wear a condom. They are on birth control. But the fact of the matter is that those things aren't 100%. They're very close to 100%, but it's not there yet.
Sure,
and,
so you accept the risk.
But that's telling them that they shouldn't be having sex.
They can do it with their mouth.
I mean, yeah, they can.
My
they
point
can do
is
the loophole and do the asshole, but
sure,
girls don't want to do that. We need to tell society. We need society to tell women, hey, the vagina should be saved just for procreation. The asshole is where we have sex for fun.
I don't care what your preferences are, Riley. What I'm saying is that it goes human life and then how sex fits into culture, not flipped around because of the convenience of abortion. Okay, so let's see.
Matt's reading the comments, trying to find a good one.
Would excluding a gender from a debate solely because of their gender be, by definition, sexist?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree too. But when how often have you been told like you don't get a say in the discussion because?
Well, that's something that the far left is trying to do. Of like, you're white, so your opinion doesn't matter.
We should only have 3/5 of a vote.
Yeah, for reparations, we don't want to hear the opinions of the white people. We want to hear the opinions of people of color.
And it sounds like pretty much what everybody's agreeing on is
even
that
though
everybody
money
gets
is
a
coming
say.
From us.
Let's see. Somebody also says. Let's see. Somebody says if you look at a lot of these new laws, it's clear that the authors have only the vaguest idea of how human reproduction works. I wrote something next to that. I said possibly, but the same could be said that the left doesn't understand how life works.
Which are they talking about, like the abortion laws that have been happening recently?
If you look at these new laws, it is clear that the authors have only the vaguest idea. It says new laws.
Oh, because they're probably talking about the heartbeat bill. Because the heartbeat, I read something interesting about that. It's not technically a heartbeat. It's the
spot where the heart's going to be.
Well, no, it's
currents feeding there. Yeah.
I don't know all the biology of it. I'm not a scientist, and neither are you. But it's not actually a beating heart. It's an electrode or some shit like that. Like it's a pulse of electricity.
Okay, neither am I. But the thing is, it's just using semantics once again.
Heartbeat is incorrect. It is not a heart that's beating. It is.
But it is. I'd have to read it again. But it is like.
It might be where the heart's going to be, but that doesn't mean that it's a heart.
Okay, but I mean,
Well, this is coming down to the exact debate on why we will never agree on abortion is because you think that because that's where the heart's going to be, that it's a heartbeat. And I say that's not literally a heart, and that's where we disagree on what a fetus is. You think a fetus is a human life, where I think that it's
scientifically there's no real difference on when it's a fetus. I think it's like after 8 days or something, because up until then it's an embryo.
Yeah.
But my point is, you don't have to know anything about pregnancy or sex or human reproduction to know the difference between right and wrong.
I think this person might be blowing a small thing out of proportion, because it is called a heartbeat bill, and even if it isn't technically a heart, they can call it that, whatever. They should just call it the pulse bill or some shit like that, because they can tell the pulse of a fetus or whatever.
Somebody said, honestly, I'd settle for parody. Said, how much of this is men talking to other men about women's bodies with no women in the discussion. And it kind of, I mean, that kind of circles back to what we're talking about. Like,
well, it is true that in a lot of Republican states, there's hardly any women on the board making these decisions. It's mostly men who are doing it. However, I think in Georgia, where they had the first major heartbeat bill, that was signed by a woman. I think there's a woman governor there or some shit, or mayor.
One of the, yeah.
Like the final person who signed it was a woman, I believe.
Is that maybe like, I think...
But like in Alabama, where they had the other heartbeat bill, I think that was all old straight white men making that decision.
Yeah.
Which this is something that you and I have a hard time debating, because you and I both think that there's no problem with a bunch of straight white men making this decision, but the far left, they think.
I mean, if everybody gets to have a vote, it's who's representing you.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that some of these heartbeat bills are like being overwhelmingly passed in the state legislature by people who are, picked by their state citizens. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think in Georgia it was something like 88-9 in one house,
Yeah.
and now our judicial system is holding it back, and it's like, if it's that overwhelming, at what point, if libertarians aren't for large government, like, wouldn't they at least support state versus federal government, it seems like,
Yeah.
and each state being allowed to make its own choices in those matters?
Well, I just I'm okay with abortion being a state right, because there are people in states that are majority red, and they don't, they view abortion as a full crime. And I think that them telling the entire country that that's how we need to live our lives is wrong. But if they want to do that in their state, I'm fine with that. And if you're a woman who wants to have an abortion in that state, move out. I know that's a hard thing to say in the defense is, you can't just move out of a state. Fuck those answers. I'm so tired of people telling
I
me
actually
that.
say that when people...
I know you say that.
Well, because it's just it's not realistic.
I'm like, end the Fed so that every state can have their own laws, and you're like, it's you can't move from one state to another. It's not that easy. And I know it's not easy to move. Moving sucks, but it's still, I would rather have that society than one where we have to live with just one way or another.
I had a note here. I don't know why I put it here, but Ivanka Trump met up with, I think, either the head of Planned Parenthood or one of her, minions, whatever, somebody else high up in the company.
Oh, at Planned Parenthood?
Yeah.
Okay.
And she said, what she proposed was, why don't we have, because the pro-life people are saying defund Planned Parenthood, why don't we have, and the money that's going to Planned Parenthood, why don't we set up a separate fund where it goes to those other things that you guys are taking care of besides the abortions, because you guys do all the options,
I gotta set a fact straight here. First of all, I am a pro-choice person, and I hate Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood is terrible. I don't want any of my tax dollars going to Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood is a very sexist company. Anytime I've ever gone to Planned Parenthood, they've always treated me like crap because I'm a man. So fuck Planned Parenthood. I hate Planned Parenthood.
Well,
but the fact of the matter is, no tax dollars go to abortion at Planned Parenthood. That is proven fact, that none of the tax dollars that Planned Parenthood receives goes to abortion. It goes towards other services that they offer. And I know that there's people who say, you sent me that video of the person looking for other services at Planned Parenthood. They don't offer services for prenatal care, but they do offer a lot of other services like health checkups, pap smears, birth control, that kind of stuff, and that is where our tax dollars are going. But zero tax dollars are going to abortion.
So how's it going but not going to abortion?
Because it's going to other services that they offer.
If it's just going to the company, I mean, they decide to distribute the dollars.
Yeah, but they can divide up the money in ways
well,
where...
it sounds like what you're talking about is what Ivanka was talking to. Her name's something Richards, and her daughter, or her mom, sorry, was the governor of Texas that George Bush beat out, and to become governor of Texas. And so she's, got long-time political connections, but her, Ms. Richards of Planned Parenthood, sat down with Ivanka Trump, and Ivanka tried to suggest something similar to what you say is already happening. Let's fund Planned Parenthood, but expand to the departments that don't have to do with abortion, and those you can the abortions you can take care of through, the money you bring in, your own fundraising,
Well,
whatever.
I think that's how it's
and
it
the
works.
conversation just dropped. It was like, nope, thanks, we're done.
I'm pretty sure that's how it works because I've seen that debate on all sides.
We'll have to look it up and follow up on that. But you should have brought that up beforehand already.
Well, I don't like defending Planned Parenthood because I don't like Planned Parenthood. So
Well, they kind of just get the label. They do 40% of abortions, which isn't even the majority, but they're the largest one, so they get it. Okay, so there's somebody said something that said, or Darius Destar said something. Democracy stays democracy. Should only poor people vote on governmentally assisted welfare? Should only rich people vote on the taxes? Tornado 28 said, I think there's an assumption that women are more pro-choice than men. She's like, or he or she says there's different articles about this, but the part that struck me was also the idea that we'd only allow women to vote on certain issues is nonsense. By that logic, only men should decide if we are to go to war or not, because men are 90% of the ones that go to war.
Right.
So, I think that's a good point. And I think, me, you, and Margaret sat down, and we all come from different opinions, but I think we've kind of decided at this point in history, we've decided everybody gets a vote, everybody has a say. And that's what it comes down to. Besides for that, we didn't have any other,
I wonder what
huge comments.
The far left would say, if we made it so only men could decide if we go to war or not, if that was something that we don't really vote on war. The wars happen without a voter opinion, but
Congress votes on it.
Yeah.
So.
But if say going to war was something that only men voted on, there would be a huge outcry from women saying that that's sexist. But I wonder what the far left would do if they said only women can choose what happens with abortion. I wonder if they'd be like, oh, that's empowering to women.
You said it, I didn't, but I 100% agree with this. So. Other than that, we didn't receive, too many, thought-provoking comments, which was kind of disappointing, but, whatever. Maybe we'll get them with this next topic, so.
Yeah.
I think it's because it's something that, again, we've...
Well, no one listened to, the part of the podcast where we discussed what should a man say, not in the legal aspect, but in the personal aspect. If a woman is married, how much should or if a woman gets pregnant, how much should the man who got her pregnant have a say in getting an abortion?
People listened to it. They just didn't focus on that.
Yeah, they didn't listen. They didn't respond to that part, which is unfortunate because I think that's a little bit more thought-provoking in ways. But do you have anything you want to wrap up the topic with?
No, I think that's it. Nipped it in the bud, and nobody's mind's been changed, so that's great.
Yeah, it's abortion's a tough issue.
It certainly is.
All right, cool. Well, thank you everyone for listening to this podcast. It was a short one, less than a half hour. Man, that's our shortest episode.
There you go.
You love when I bring up the time on the show, man.
I just got
you guys, we're at 28 minutes and 38 seconds.
And how many minutes? Pisses me off so bad.
Anyways, thank you guys for listening. We appreciate it. Please feel to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Especially comment. We like those comments. You can email us at quadrant4politics@gmail.com. That's the number 4, not spelled out, quadrant4politics@gmail.com. You can find us on YouTube and SoundCloud. SoundCloud is the better place to listen, in my opinion. And we'll see you on the next one.